This is why the Pro Bowl is nothing but a bunch of bull honky. The NFL announced their Pro Bowl rosters today, and 3 Denver Broncos players cracked the AFC team. Pat Surtain, Marvin Mims as a return specialist, and Nick Bonito. All of those guys are very deserving of a Pro Bowl nod. But there are several other players who definitely should have been on the Pro Bowl roster that were named just as alternates. Quinn Miners, named as only an alternate at guard when he's arguably been the best guard in football this year. Then you've got Zach Allen, who is amongst the top interior defensive linemen, yet he is only the 4th alternate on the AFC team. You see this just complete snubbing going on, and it only further confirms my point that the Pro Bowl is nothing more than a popularity contest, and it isn't to be taken seriously in terms of legacy for players in the NFL, as well as incentives on contracts. We see some players out there that have incentives on their contracts based on making a Pro Bowl that year, and I don't think that's fair because of the bias going on in the voting for the Pro Bowl. In case you guys are unfamiliar with how Pro Bowl voting works, 2/3 of the voting comes from players and coaches. The other third comes from fans. So fans do have an impact, but the majority of the votes are actually coming from within the NFL's inner circle. Here's the problem with that. I don't see a whole lot of players or coaches voting for a player in their own division or a rival team that's deserving of going to the Pro Bowl. For example, I don't see a whole lot of Pittsburgh Steelers coaches or players voting for Myles Garrett to go to the Pro Bowl. Same thing with Cleveland players and coaches voting for TJ Watt to go to the Pro Bowl. I just don't see that happening. And if you were to leave it up to fans, it would be even worse in terms of the bias. And it's not to the detriment of fans that I bring up this point. Fans deserve to have their voice heard, certainly. But I do feel like in terms of contract negotiations and player legacy, it's just kind of hard when you have all these jumbled mixed opinions and sometimes biased voting that's not based on play on the football field at all. Travis Kelce, got an inflation of votes from Swifties, and that's not to the detriment or fault of Swifties. I would expect that, but if you're going to base the overall player legacy and them potentially hitting incentives in their contract based on a popularity vote, then I just don't think that's fair. So that's why I think we need to pivot away from looking at Pro Bowls and evaluating how good a player is based on how many Pro Bowls they made. And All Pro, which is decided by the media, I feel like has similar problems. I think that you have a lot of biased media out there. I can think of a perfect example. I understand Aaron Rodgers is not the most liked figure out there. I disagree with a lot of his opinions. But on the field, especially in the 2020 or 2021 season, I can't remember exactly what year this was, he was playing like the best quarterback in the NFL. Yet you then had a member of the Chicago media, Hub Arkush, who has a say in all of these AP media votes from Comeback Player of the Year to MVP, Rookie of the Year, all of that. You had Hub Arkush saying that he wasn't going to vote for Aaron Rodgers to win the MVP because he disagreed with his political opinions. I am somebody who can push aside my disagreements with the man personally and acknowledge that he was playing well that season, well enough to win MVP. So you have just unfair bias from media in that sense too. And I think I speak from a unique perspective here because I kind of fall somewhere in the middle of media and fan. I am technically media, but I'm also very much a fan of the NFL. I'm a fan of this game, and I want to see the betterment and the improvement of this game for the players. And I just don't think it's fair that contract incentives and player legacy is being tied to Pro Bowls when you have all this biased voting that's jumbling the overall opinion of this. And I can think of so many examples this year where the tape and the numbers match up to a player who has made the Pro Bowl roster who isn't deserving of it in comparison to another player who definitely should be on the Pro Bowl roster. So for me, I just don't put a whole lot of stock in the Pro Bowl. And after that whole Hub Arkush incident, I have have a whole lot of time. I have a really hard time putting a whole lot of stock into the all-pro list as well. I just don't think that that's a fair way to judge players, and especially when it comes to contract incentives and stuff like that, it's just not right that we're leaving that kind of stuff in the hands of people who don't know football, quite frankly. So I know that this video may come across as a little bit harsh, but at the end of the day, this is why I just don't put a whole lot of stock into the Pro Bowl list. I know that a lot of these players would much rather win a Super Bowl and get the team accolade than all these personal accolades like Pro Bowls. None of that crap is going to matter at the end of the day. You're not going to get a trophy for participating in the Pro Bowl, or maybe you might, I don't know, but either way, you're not going to give two craps about what happens you making a Pro Bowl if your team doesn't accomplish the ultimate goal in season. So players don't care about the Pro Bowl, and I think fans put way too much stock in it as well. All right, Broncos country, be sure to leave a like on this video as well as subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts on the Pro Bowl. Do you think it makes an impact in terms of player legacy? Drop those comments down below and let me know your thoughts. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.